All right. Okay. So I'm not gonna recap over what we did on the last few videos. I'm just gonna go ahead and basically say there is few changes due to the okay, so if you try to package any games for Android right now, you're going to be restricted to use SDK 31 or 30 and up, and also the billing in-game payment with Google as well is going to restrict you to use 4.0 and up. So with that information in mind, basically we're going to be stuck using this workflow, basically finding a way to use to divide our game into chunks. Otherwise you're not going to be able to upload it to Google and use it unless it's like very small game, like a 50 megabyte game, then that's fine. Which is just the menu. Like my menu is over 100, so that's not reasonable. Like it's just any game would be at least 100 megabyte and up. I think, unless like it's a tiny game. All right, so let's just dive right in this, because I was actually working on it and I was like, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna go live and show you guys what we missed. Get asset location is after we are done downloading the chunk. It doesn't mean that Google will like do everything for it. That function is basically like, I could have just downloaded the chunk myself with an HTTP request at this point, because the whole plugin is useless. It just downloads the chunks for you. It doesn't do nothing else. So you would have to get the locations of the chunk after you're done downloading it, get the path and convert it into a path, and then basically check if it's installed. And then if it is installed, it mounts it inside the game. It just it does everything manually for you. So don't expect that plugin to do anything besides download. And then the mount is not even considered part of the plugin. That is from some random guy spoke about it, and that's the only documentation you'll ever get about this. Is some guy said, hey, it's not working. Oh my god, I think I got it working by, you know, doing this. Lucky me, I was just searching online. I had no idea that it's not gonna work, because I haven't even tested it yet. I've been working, trying to get the system to work, and I never had the chance to actually check if Google was going to actually give me the files. So at this point, you done downloading, and you're getting get the location, set the path. So basically this is what he's been doing right here. And then and then I already had the permission set up, and you don't have to do it that way. You could do it from your project settings. Just copy and paste that line inside your project settings. All right, so at this point you don't have to actually specify the locations of the mount. It should figure it out on its own. As far as pack order, I don't know if we could just basically tell it to use pack. Okay, so I'm not sure if we have to set this up, but if we do, it's gonna be kind of a mess, because we're gonna have to match the pack ID with the order, and then we're gonna have to get this equals that. Then it's gonna require some it's gonna require another system. So far, like, this system is really getting so big, and I don't know what to say. Like, if this is what you guys want to do, maybe you guys could do it in C++ much smaller than this, but good luck, you know. So far I have like 5-10 functions, and my wires are starting to look it's a big plugin. So I don't know. So far this is what you have to do. Here's the thing though, we're gonna create another array I'm gonna be cutting like this whole beginning part, I swear. All right, I'm gonna be creating another array, and we're gonna keep track of this because we're gonna have to mount, I think, every time we load the game. So every time you load the game, you would have to find whatever's installed and downloaded and mount it back inside the game, which is not cool. Not cool, dude. But that is a hint that we got from our friend here. And so I'm not sure if you would have to mount once or every time you load the game. All that information is missing from the documentation, the Epic Games documentation. These guys from Epics, you know, there's always documentations missing. Epic. All right, so let's get back to it. Forget it. All right, I'm really sorry. It's just it is what it is, and it is what it is. Which one was it? I think it's this one. No. No. Where did I save game? Data assets, data delivery assets, day assets. Okay, so this one is going to be the init. So this is going to be init, and then this is going to be for download installed. So we're going to have one called download, and then duplicate it, and then we're going to have this one called installed. Okay, and we're not sure how we're going to set this yet, but one thing for sure, we're going to have to delete everything in it. Okay, so the installed one, okay, so either way, we're adding to it. So, and that is installed. We're gonna get it and then add to it. Okay, is that it? Is that it? Okay, and then member, set member, maybe. No, why not? Okay, I feel like engine is gonna crash. So okay, so this is gonna be the this is gonna be the type, I think. So let's make it make where is it? Oh yeah, it's because it's unchecked. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do, is actually instead of add it, we're gonna get it and then add to it. So it's pretty much just like this right here. Yeah, just like that one right here. So actually with the type as well. Just connect that here. Now all we have to do is yeah, because you know the engine is pretty picky, you know, so we were trying to avoid add. Okay, and that would just basically be the, so this is the type, and we're basically adding at this point the chunk. So this is the local, this is the chunks, but however we need the chunk that has been downloaded. Okay, and now that is done, we're gonna do the same thing here. It would be nice if we could like do the same operation at the same point in time to avoid any issues in case the user crashes in between. But that's the best we can do right now. Okay, so this is it right here. All right, and now we're gonna set that member back in. Which is going to be something like this. So we're adding, but we never set it, so we don't even know how to like that would not work for some reason. Structs don't work that way. You have to get it locally first. So we're gonna promote this locally first. And that way we can call it down installed. It's not really installed, you know, but it's going to be. So that's the whole idea here, is for us to install it. Okay, that is awesome. That is awesome. Okay. And that way we could just do this. We could do that. And then guess what? The type is going to be the one that we need right now. So the type again, right here. It looks quite messy, but it should work. So we're basically, every time we download a chunk, we're saving it into a different array. And the reason why we're going to do that, because eventually we're going to mount the chunks every time we begin the game. So we're going to mount each one of them with some kind of delay or something. I don't know, we'll find out, because I don't know, mounting so many files at the begin play is not such a great idea. Or we could mount them at the time we download them. So that way we could, and then instead of checking if they're downloaded, we're going to check if they're installed and mounted. But it's going to be a huge system, I'm afraid, and you know, like, even though I made a video with this, after watching this video, you're still going to have to put your own touch into the system. Because no matter how detailed I go, there's always going to be a lot of information that you have to figure out on your own. It is not one of those topics that you're used to on YouTube, at least. Let's see. All right, so that should give us an array, this one. And that right here is going to allow us to know whether it exists or not. And that way we could like have a branch chain. And that would be our check during certain periods of time. Okay. So here's what we're going to do, okay? Because at the Yeah, I also created few versions here. Tagged. No. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's do this. What else we're missing from here? Okay, so we downloaded the assets and we're done with that part. We removed them from very, like, because like this is just a one array thing, right? So those two arrays are basically, one is going to be empty and one's going to be full in the end, just because we could have improved this. Like, instead of using two arrays, we could have used one. But the picky thing is like this: we could pick them later once the system is stable. We could like optimize more on it. But right now, like, I need to make sure that I need to get like I'm not really worried about having two arrays, you know. But you get the idea. We can just check and then basically have like a data in here that like a checkbox with installed, downloaded, you know. And then we could like basically assign different tags to each one of those. We can be very picky like this, but I wasn't supposed to, like, that system wasn't supposed to be that complicated. Like right now, I could actually achieve something like this. I could create a struct here, and I would have like information of each assets, and then save it. Like basically creating a video game for a video game. God damn it! No, I don't want to go that deep with this. This is not supposed to be that hard, but sadly it is. Anything to do with Google, dude, like, people, it's just always like that. I don't know why. Like, everything is backward. So let's see here. This is done here. What else we need to do? Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead and save the information that is downloaded. Okay, so this is actually downloaded, and we're gonna go ahead and install only that chunk. Okay, what if like I want to create a function, and then with that function I'm gonna go for each of all the types. So I'm gonna go ahead and do something like this. Maybe I could even have this on I could probably create a function that does this for me on the game save. And that way I could like get a true or false. On the begin play from the game save, but why should I? I should create a function on here. This is the game instance though. I'm gonna have to always get the game instance to check this. That's fine. Okay, so here we're gonna collapse this to a function, and this is gonna be like one of those functions that we're gonna feed it a type or a chunk. So let's see. So we're gonna have two functions. One is gonna be for like all the types, which we should have had one, and then the chunks. So I wonder if I could collapse it like that. No. Okay. How about this? Let's just collapse it like this right now. And we're gonna return equal. Okay. All right. Okay. So this would be it would be like mount chunk. Okay. This is mounting one chunk. Okay. If you want to do multiple, you would have to run this into a for each. So at this point, I only want to mount one chunk, but however, the chances of us running into this function is 99% every time we download a chunk. So it's not guaranteed. The chances of us running into different things, like for example, this one, this is odd stuff. We don't want to have this. Okay, so the logic of is downloaded, we're gonna do it a little bit different here. Instead of using downloaded assets, we're going to check if it's installed. So let's go ahead and check how this is gonna happen here. So we're checking based on the type. So this is a type based check, which is cool, but instead of this, we're going to use this one. And if it's false, we need to do something. So instead of I did the while loop so we could wait. I'll tell you guys about this like in the end of the okay. Actually, no, we're going to check if it's downloaded. Okay, check this out. And then if it is downloaded, actually we're gonna leave it here and we're gonna connect this like that. Now we have it as downloaded, and we're gonna rename this to ready to install basically and download, because there is no such a thing as installed. Okay, because there's actually three. Okay, there's three status. One is downloaded, and then installed, and then mounted. A little bit confusing here. So we only care about if it's downloaded, but we need to make sure that this thing here is installing them, which we don't have a way to install them. Okay, so let me explain. There is this is one thing here, asset pack not installed. Okay, we only get from Google downloading, and we have downloaded complete. We don't have an installed situation. We don't have one. We do have this one though, asset pack internal. No, not this one. Asset pack installation needed. This is the one that I'm thinking of. I don't know how do I trigger this one. I think at this point I'm gonna remember that chunk thing. This is what it's good for. So at this point, if the asset pack needs installation needed, whatever, this is when we decide to install it. And the chunk is right here. Okay. Yeah, Unrealengine, BRB. Okay. So I hope it did save. No, it didn't. So we're just gonna do this again. Where is my function? This one. And then the chunk, which is the chunk that we're talking about. This is one chunk thing. So this is only a chunk. And it should work. Like, I'm just giving all the possibilities for this system, to be honest. It should be a piece of cake though. Like, I'm pretty sure most of those things that we're doing here, we're not gonna run through them. Most likely it's just gonna download the asset, and then it's just gonna miss it the first time. The second time that it's gonna run it is going to be like, oh well, this asset is not mounted, let's go ahead and mount it. So pretty much it's just gonna go through this, and everything is with the return, so we should be safe. And then here's the downloaded part. Okay. this should work just fine. Okay, and that would be one chunk. Here's the thing, okay? So if we go out, okay, right about here, this is the part that we need to kind of focus on. This is downloaded, okay? So once it's downloaded, just load. Don't have a way of really knowing beside those two events and beside those two things here. And this is the first one, the first part that really tells us that this one needs to be mounted. And most likely, this is going to be our safe location right here. This is the part where, like, if anything goes wrong, this is going to help us. But however, we're relying on here. Okay. And remember that first event that we said we're never going to need it. Like, we're never going to need anything in it, which is this one right here. Well, guess what? We are going to. So in case there is nothing else to download, we're gonna run our function. So how we're gonna run our function? We're going to, for each one of those types, so it's going to be some like this, and then we're going to do find and local type, which is going to be actually each one of the type. We can easily make an array and go through them. And then if we did a break, we get the array, okay? And then for each one of those array, we're gonna go ahead and do this. Right here. And again, those are not going to be downloaded assets. Those are going to be installed. Same thing, but huge different. Okay. Now, I like to get all the types, but I don't know all the types. So I would create this into a function at one point and use all of this as a function. And then over here, only in this scenario, I'm gonna need to duplicate this function or find a way to make an array of the whole thing, but you get the idea right now. Okay. Now this is going to be like that, and we return right here. Turn. Okay. To make sure that we get a good return, we're going to return the outcome here by feeding the outcome on the return on the complete. So in case anything goes wrong, Um, no, we're gonna have to kill it, but we're not gonna kill it because we want to make sure that we download all of them. Whatever's in, like, we shouldn't have any issues at this point, but you never know. So if it's not mounted, then we have a problem. Okay. All right. So far, like, so good. Like, we could always like be a little bit forgivable. You know, and hope that the system would actually forgive us. But we're not gonna have a return. Like, I don't, like, this array is empty. If it runs because like it actually did something. If you want to check if there's any issues, in the end I would print, because like right now we're not going to be able to do anything else. Okay, all right, this one is going to be we might not actually need it here instead, because if that returns, like, usually this only supposed to fire once, and then the result would be like this. Is either we already mounted it, and if it did already mounted it, it's still gonna return true. Let's actually check the C++ here. So if mount equals false, it is false. So basically it's being set that it's false. And then it's if installed manifest is valid, then and the path is good to go, then we say mount is true if any of the scenarios, and then if it's not or some error, then it's false. So we fail to mount is the only scenario that this would actually be. So we get a false in case any issues here, but most likely you're going to get a true. So I mean, unless some, you know, wrong, like even if the path is wrong, you're still gonna get mounted. So we're good with this. Okay. All right. For each, let's go through, check, go through. All right. This should be a piece of cake because it's actually a process. It's not related to networking, nothing. You're basically getting the location. By the way, this function right here, it gets the locations of the pack that you already downloaded it. You're getting the path to that file based on the integer location, and then we could even set the location. No, never mind. I'm probably gonna end up working with these two. I haven't really figured out if it's necessary, but we'll see. Because at this point, you're basically like, it would be like better to use the HTTP chunks, to be honest with you. Because Google is making you like work harder than easier. But it is what it is, you know, you don't want to pay hosting, right? So CF. Let's see. All right. So this is gonna basically mount the file. So this is an object. But this is based on either fast, on demand, or yeah, but this is not gonna get all of the object. This is gonna get all the chunks that you have in your asset data folder, which is probably gonna be one chunk, unless you know how to, combine them, like have multiple chunks assigned to multiple asset ID. I don't want to confuse you. Like, the whole system's so complicated. Like, this is an easy system. Imagine. It could get really complicated, but then in the end you only have allowed to 50 assets. So as advanced as they made it look like, it's kind of not advanced, 50 assets only, right? Why you're scaring me then, like, why you're making this really deep system? This system, eventually it could handle up to like hundreds of assets, because they made it like that, right? That's the whole idea. It was like, oh, asset pack location, and then in the end it's just 50. It's like, seriously, all this just for 50 assets, 50 links? But they don't even know how to like the locations of the files. It's a big issue for them, right? So for them to optimize it, this is what they did, right? So for them to optimize it, they're like, oh, fast flow, asset name, asset pack name, and then the location right here. If you open the file, you would notice that the ADD full file is going to have like all your files on the outside. It's not going to be under this. This is for you to see. Like, this is how you're going to, put your files. But when it gets combined into the ADD, into the, what is it, ADD file, it's gonna look different. So it's gonna have the asset pack, blah blah blah, right? And then this one also as well. But instead of having fast dash flow, it's gonna have the asset pack name, which most likely, because we already named it as asset pack fast flow or on demand, is gonna have the same ID. So it's gonna be on demand 1, on demand 2, on demand 3, inside of your ADD file. So when you ask for it, you're basically talking to Google saying, hey Google, give me the on demand file, right? But when you are packaging, it looks entirely different from when you're talking to Google asking for that file. So that's why it gets really confusing. Like, why are we putting it into this file? A build Android Gradle. So why are we putting it in here if we're gonna end up not even using this file, not using this file? Okay, so none of this is gonna be used, really. What's going to be used Yeah, you see like these brackets right here? This is the first full file you will see inside of your bundle. This one. Everything behind it, that is engine related path. That is not used, and that's what confuses 80% of the people that read this documentation. 80%, like this path, it is not related to the packaging. It is related, is related to the packaging, is not related to the locations of the bundle. or the file of the data assets locations, or the path of the data asset locations within the bundle. It is related to the engine understanding that there is an asset, and that asset needs to be pushed inside the ADD file. And now that you pushed it inside of the ADD file, there is no need for you to bundle it with the OBB file. Okay, so remember, there's an ADD file and there's an is it an ADD file or it's an AD. One second. I showed the thing. I'm not supposed to show that thing. All right, so let's see here. It's an ADD file, I'm pretty sure, but I'm just double checking, making sure that I'm not giving you words. Yeah, this is an ADD file. All right, so let's go back to it. Okay, so we're doing all this is because this is what was gonna happen. Okay, let's ignore any blueprint right now. We're going to download few chunks, right, based on the information we save them, and then we're going to make sure that they're installed without actually communicating with Google or our system to let us know that is actually installed, because we don't have a function for that. So it is kind of limited. Of course, we can dive into C++ and create a function, but that is just too much work for just a file that is already there, and we already know that we downloaded it. So we could work around the issue, you know? So instead, so this is basically all this is checking, right? We created this really cool debugging system to allow us to understand everything that goes on this system. We're saving the information, right? And let's go ahead and make sure that everything is good to go and we can download that file. We don't have a way of knowing whether the file is installed or not, but here's what we did here. We created this array to save us from downloading things twice. If things has been already removed from this array, most likely we're gonna find it on what? Most likely we're gonna find it on this array, okay? All we have to do is, now that we know for sure, eventually this function, whenever we run it every begin play, okay, we're gonna have a type to deal with. That type, we either download it, okay, on true, or we're going to check if it's installed on false. Pretty easy, right? Now that you look at it this way, we're basically checking one array. If it exists, if that type exists on download, we haven't downloaded it yet. Okay, so what happens if we actually did download it? Do we have to wait again until we run the function? No. What we did in here is that it's gonna go through all of the type and is gonna wait for a return, I believe, okay? I'm not sure if the for each is gonna actually break the loop, you know? So this is why I'm a little bit worried, because the for each could probably go through all of them in 1 second and you don't know what happened. But I believe that for each one of this is going to go do for each one of that, and then each chunk is going to get download status because we already requested it at this point. Okay, we're also checking if the chunk is if those are the same chunks that we are already doing. Okay, that is inside the save game. Those are the current chunks. So we're basically setting the chunks, saying, hey, hold on a second, we are processing you right now. Okay, so we are processing you right now, And then when we process them, we're gonna set them and wait for them. Okay. Now that we have the chunks, we're gonna go for each one of them, and we're going to get the download status of it. Okay. And that gives us this really nice, beautiful, well-written switch. Okay. It is so beautiful and is so useless, but is very important. Okay. So asset pack no error. I hate this guy. I really hate him. Every time I read this line, asset pack no error, I just feel Chinese. I don't know why. It's just, I'm sorry. It's just true because asset pack no error. Alright, and it's not like I'm American or anything. Alright, so asset pack no error. And then asset pack app unavailable. This one is good written actually. And then everything is good here. But they're all like denial things, which is, understandable. Is issues. So most of those are going to be issues. 2 of them are related to networking. So we're going to go ahead and let the user know that there is an issue with your internet and you might need to fix it. And then we're going to wait for him to fix it. We're going to exit. We shouldn't exit, but we're basically going to let the system know that, hey, there's an issue, and probably the user is going to end up fixing something. And we're still going to go through all of them. And most likely it's just going to keep triggering this function over and over and over and over and over and over until he fixes his internet, and then the whole process will get redone. Okay. Keep in mind that if the chunks are the same, like right now, if they are the same, and the function would get killed and you won't be able to access this again. And the do once would probably be an issue. So this is why things like this, we still need to find out whether we want to reset the do once or do what exactly. So every time we postpone, okay, we're gonna have to reset the do once. Okay, so easy said than done. It's gonna be something like that. Whoa, that looks like a bug of some kind. Okay, and then in that case, we're gonna actually offer a return and then wait, because we don't want to waste the user's time or internet for no reason. Okay, so we're gonna just return it, and we're also going to do the same thing here, which is, we're probably gonna do the same thing here as well. Not really, because those are all the things we don't care about. Yeah, those are the things, those are not the user's related issues. Those are our issues, and they cannot be fixed, so we cannot return on them. We're just gonna, I mean, we cannot return on them, yes, but we will wait. We're just gonna continue waiting for them to be fixed. These ones are users related issues, and we're gonna return false because the user has to fix that issue, and then we're just gonna go ahead. It looks like a bus here, seriously, and then we're just gonna have it like that. That looks like a gun. See, that's it. That's how you deal with this. And hopefully it works. We'll see. All right. So we see how like we have like downloaded, completed, and then we're returning, or progress and then we're returning. Um, this is just gonna keep returning the first one. But here's the thing. So if it's downloaded, that's the only time we don't supposed to return. Okay. Remember, if the asset pack unknown, asset pack downloaded pending, downloaded complete, we don't really have anything else except completed. If downloaded is complete, then we don't return. We're going to continue for more. And any issues, you know, we're going to postpone, but we're still going to continue. We're not going to let anything bad hold us from completing the mission, right? Okay. When we return, okay, when we return on the progress, that is because there's an asset pack being downloaded. So we already requested that file and there's something that is being downloaded. In that scenario, we are downloading for the first time, and then everything should be good to go here. And it's just going to keep giving us the progress until at one point it runs this function. And then if it runs this function, and then the asset pack is downloaded completed, that's when it's going to run the function again. Before we run that function again, okay, before we run it again, we like to do this right here, but we don't have the name of the assets. We don't have the name of the assets, okay? So, but if you look inside this function, you don't really need an asset name when you have the location of it. So instead of doing this, we have the state progress, save game asset, and then the state progress, if we look inside of the state is this one, and it is that one. That is the state, but it's not the huh? It's funny, it's just funny because they call it state, and then on the other function they call it location. Fine. This one is called location, and I believe both of them are the same. See, they call it location here, and then location is basically just an int, const int location, and then if location and pack location equals find the location from the location.find, location map.find. Okay, remember that. Now if we go back here and then open the other function, this beautiful function right here, or that one, we don't have access to them. That's beautiful. Okay. On the other one, I have access to them. On this one, not. Okay. This one is called state, and then state is something entirely different. Download state.map.find. Okay. So, okay, fine. We already have the chunks, so good news. I had a feeling this would happen to you, so I did this. I kept track of the chunk name that is currently being used, and I called it chunk. So if you drag from here after the crash, we'll be right back. Yeah, but we don't have the type. We don't have the type. So we have a problem, because I'd rather run this function to save the loop so I could prevent it from like checking again and rely on the first check instead. So here's what we're gonna do. Okay, we're also gonna remove that old debugging system and replace it with a new one, because we're gonna track every state. I'm gonna show you. We're gonna update it. So we are saving the progress whenever we are assets being downloaded. We're gonna go ahead and take those two, and then we're gonna fire check we're gonna fire another function after. So okay, so let's go ahead and duplicate this, and we're gonna call it type progress. Okay, so that way we could name it the same. And we're gonna set all this stuff like on here. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Not. Type remove, I think is this one. There it is. Where is the download? And this is supposed to be the first time that it fires. However, you never know. We might not. We might miss it. So this is the type, and this is the chunk, and then what is this? Oh yeah, this is gonna basically check to see whatever is left inside of the types at that given moment. If there is any, fine. If not, ignore. Which is pretty cool. We could run it straightforward, or we could do something very, very cool. Since we already know what this is, and we already have the type, we don't have to rely on this function anymore, because that function is being used on the type. However, this one is more to a specific. This is based on all the indexes, and it's really fuzzy. So instead of that, just to be sure, I created this really cool function. And but we can't use it because it requires what to wait for, and we have nothing to wait for. So what I want to do is we're going to create a custom one. So this is gonna wait for this, and when it's done waiting for that, if it's true, but this is dangerous because this should return something. But this might not never return anything, so we're gonna have a problem. This might return false, and it will still wait. So that's what you want, fine. So here's what we're gonna do instead. Instead of this, we're gonna say and bool, and we're gonna connect these two. So if it's true, we might not even need this, but let's see. Save. Yeah, this is something to do with the save game. Because either way, we're gonna need it. So I'm not gonna need this one. I'm just gonna wait for the return and just call the function again. At least I will check something useful instead. Okay. And that's it. That's pretty much is gonna take those two. We're gonna remove them from the download, add them to the installed, and try to mount it. If it doesn't mount, then we do another check later on at one point. Because we're gonna go before we continue, we're gonna check all of them, make sure they all pass, and then we're gonna allow the user to go to that specific level. It's gonna be a little bit of drama, but it's gonna all be procedural, no touching, no manual adjustment, nothing like that. It's gonna be fun. All right. Oh, the game I'm developing is pretty much like a farm and a strategy, and then I have a survival. So I'm creating like a system that is like capable of running on multiple things. So the system is not really related to what type of game I'm making. It's a system that would handle, you know, in this case, the downloading assets from Google. But like the idea is to create like an array for each system. It goes through all the types of data that is required to run the game, and it's going to bring you those data in to the it's going to mount it into your application, but it has nothing to do with specific packaging solution. It's just it could be used on other solutions. You just have to kind of like rework it. You know, everything requires reworking. So with that said, let's continue. Sorry if I haven't read the chat quick enough, you know. I don't really have a way of like watching the browser, and like I already have two screens open. And I'm using both of them. Okay. let's see here. So this will mount it, and I think we get like a true or false from here. And this is the part that, you know, I kind of don't want to do, but is reality. I'm gonna create another array. And this is gonna be like, I don't think anybody's gonna like this. But this is just to keep track. And like what that array sets is mounted, so just we could like keep track of the mounted chunks. And the way we're gonna do this is that on here we're already getting a type, so we're just going to add a type in here. Okay? And we're gonna do the same thing we did here. Like this whole thing is probably, it would be better if we created it as a function, I swear, but I don't want to do that right now. But let's see if we could like do it down here. So what would you do for a wild card right now? Okay. All right, so this is gonna be okay. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. That's all we need here. I wish we could like create a function for this, but I'd rather not go through this right now, since we only need it like once. We could, if we like compress this maybe, but it's just too much work. So let's just make sure that if this is true, we set it like that. We could even make it look pretty like this, and that's it. And the only problem is this one right here. Let's go ahead and create the local one. They're local, so it's just, it is what it is. Actually, no, we cannot make it look pretty unless we're gonna feed it different. Too much work. Okay. So sometimes things cannot look pretty. Right? Like in this case. This case, you're just gonna have to add more code. And really hope that this is entertaining. Blueprint. Let's see. So much work, man. Alright, So this will pretty much add the mounted. So the thing is, we cannot cannot have the same thing over and over like that. So this is gonna be is gonna have to be renamed. So we have, this is the downloaded. So this is gonna be downloaded loaded. This is the downloaded chunks. Okay, so this is the downloaded chunks. It gets fed in here and we're good, right? That's pretty cool. This is as far as like adding and removing from one thing. This is just basically removing, because we're removing it from the download. So it's a little bit different here. We're removing from here and we're adding on those two. So this is going to be installed and this is going to be different. This is going to be a different array. We're dealing with 3 arrays. Most likely we're going to only use them temporary, just to make sure that everything is installed correctly mounted. And this would basically tell us like, hey, this is installed, please forget about it. And the save games come in and it saves everything in the end. So we're only saving few arrays, like 3 structs and few arrays and 2 strings and an integer. So we're not really doing a lot of work. We're not like being heavily, even though this system is probably, I would consider it one of my top 10 as far as like data size, because it's just so much stuff like right here that we could have done it probably much smaller, but we'll see. Hopefully in the end it works. We'll see. Alright, let's see here. Mounted. Okay, so we're good here. Oh yeah, no, we're not good. And we are now good. Okay. Also here, let's make sure this is installed. This one is installed and that one is downloaded and this one is downloaded. Okay, that's good, that's perfect. Okay, so let's say for example you start the game. Okay, you have an empty array here, and like this is where like all your information is, right? Okay, let's say for example you want to check, you know, you want to check and see if it's downloaded, right? So we have like this right here, we have that which is installed, and right here, and then we have, well, it's downloaded is kind of like it's installed because we are using it like that, you know. So this one is gonna say is installed to make things easier, and this one is gonna be mounted question mark. Okay, installed. All right, so this is installed and this one is mounted. Okay, we can always check if something exists at any given moment with this function. So we have this function here, see, and we could even give them default naming. so that way nothing would ever go wrong. And then those two functions within the save game gives us access to everything. Okay, of course we have to know the naming though. So if the type exists, most likely is going to exist. But what if like we cannot just check the type, but rather we need to check the individual's chunks. So for us to make sure that that duplicate this right, and this is going to be main packs. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit different, the use case for it. It's for checking. Okay, so I know this is not cool, but it's gonna crash. But all right, BRB. It's just the fact is like we're trying to keep the data organized and easy for us to add to it. So the idea is for us to develop faster, not optimize at this point. So we can optimize this later. Hopefully I can keep records of all those videos and optimize them and cut them, so that way we could like display them on YouTube for people to watch. Okay, so back to the crash. Okay, so on here we created another array of the download, which is basically every time we make adjustment to this one, we need to adjust that one as well. So this is going to be, instead of download, it's going to be main assets pack, and we're just going to compile save this. And this is the one that is going to be the check for both mounted and installed. But check this out. We're going to compare. Okay, so Control Z this, and we're going to find, and hopefully we can, I don't think we can do equal on this. Oh, we can, but no, we can't. So what we could do, we could match. So I don't think we have any way. I don't think we can match. We have equal, but it's not we can break. We can break the struct and then match the array. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So we're basically saying this one and that one with the same type. Okay, and we're gonna break arrays on both of them. Okay, and check this out. This is the magic right here. We're not gonna rely on this. We're going to say if it's equal. What? I know there's something for an array. Contain item, find items, identical. Okay, so if those two arrays are identical to each other, okay, then we're gonna go ahead and say that is good. If not, then what if like we want to check an individual? That would be another function. Okay, that is just for checking the whole thing here. And the same thing goes for the mounted part, which is right here. Okay, and let's just go ahead and make it look pretty. Okay, hopefully that would do the trick. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now we have those two functions we could use to check if it's installed or downloaded, just like this. Installed is basically it's already downloaded, okay? We don't know whether it's installed or not, but because we don't have a way of tracking that, Google doesn't give us an option. So here's the good news. Good news is that every time we run the check on the cloud right here, we could, instead of like doing this old way, okay, so this is gonna check, hey, this data exists here? Yes, okay. What about, you know, if it doesn't exist here, what would happen? Then in that case, let's go ahead and check if the save game, there is a function that is called is installed. So if there's anything, and by the way, we don't remove from installed. Installed is installed, okay? And this is a type, so local type. So we check the same type that we were trying to get, and is installed. If it is installed, let's go ahead and also do another branch. Okay, do another branch, and if it is true, okay, we're gonna go ahead and check if it's mounted at this point. Is it mounted? Okay, and it's also to the same type, so there's a little bit of a check here just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. And then another branch. Okay, if it's not downloaded, then we have a problem, you know, because usually if it doesn't exist on here, is because it exists on here. So if it doesn't, I really don't know what to do at this point except showing a debug menu. So we'll see, but that's pretty much it. And then if it's mounted, fine. If it's not mounted, let's mount it. You see? So this accept what? Accepts a type. So we should name it as a type. GRP. Okay, it only accepts types. He goes through them. He gives the type, and then from the type for each one of them, he's gonna go check a chunk. It's not a name, it's a chunk, but whatever. Oh yeah, we don't call it chunks anymore. We call them, yeah, whatever. Okay, so we call it a name. It's gonna check names, which is like data assets that are assigned to chunk IDs, blah 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 blah. Okay, so it runs through the type. Let's give the type, and that is only in this condition. This is the only thing that we need here, is that if the data is no longer in here, we would like to go ahead and try to mount it, you know, but make sure that it is installed. Okay, it is downloaded. Okay, it is mounted. If it's already mounted, there's nothing for us to do except go ahead and return, you know, at this point. But if it's not, let's go ahead and, you know, try to do something here. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Unbelievable, right? The amount of data that is in this thing. Probably you never thought a system that is just going to download a few files and put them on your on the user's hard drive, but it is considered a very risky thing, you know, for them. So everyone is like being very cautious. There's a lot of people trying to improve the system, and everyone has different mindset, and this is the result of that. Is just it's a simple HTTP call that is being called here. Google is the only thing that is doing here from Google is that he's making a request, checking if that request, there's a file exists for it. If it does exist for it, he gives you the file. That's it. And then the engine does the rest, which is like he doesn't do it on his own. You still have to tell the engine what to do. And then in that case, after it's completed and it's already mounted, is going to go ahead and also return true for both scenario. I wish I could find out if it's mounted or not, but I don't have a way of doing that right now. So here's what we're gonna do. If it's at any point, it returns, so because we don't actually have a way of doing return unless we want to spend more time. And in case of branch, in case of true, go ahead and skip. If false, return false. If it goes through all of them and everything's good, it's going to return true. So that's the best way of me handling this scenario. Okay. And then in the end is going to return either false or true based on the outcome. Okay. So that's pretty much it here. Okay, so let's go ahead and describe what's going on here. Okay, the first thing that happens, a level gets loaded. Google is gonna go ahead and there's some on-demand assets that are not yet downloaded. We're gonna go ahead and check them one by one based on the level, based on the location, based on the gameplay, whatever you want. And then once that is done, we're gonna get a type of a list of array. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that the data is loaded, and then we're gonna go ahead and check if this type of data is still inside of our downloaded array. We already loaded the data, so it should tell us whether it's there or not. If it is there, let's go ahead and process this. But before we do that, if it's not there, let's go ahead and go through all of this I mean, and we're gonna go ahead and check if it's installed, if it's mounted. If it's already mounted, there's nothing for us to do. But if it's not mounted and it needs to be mounted, then let's go ahead and mount the data. So instead of mounting chunk is mounting type. So this is going to be called types. Okay, so this is going to mount like all the types, you know what I mean, which is a function that we created right here. Okay, so we give it the local type, we mount all the types, and we continue. Why would we need this? What if like the user restarted the game and the mounting operation is just no longer valid because he completely closed the game, and now he would need to redo that operation somehow, or all the cache got messed up, whatever. It's gonna check every time the game starts. So if that's the case, as far as downloaded, if it's already downloaded, for sure. If it's not downloaded, let's go ahead and return a problem here. This is going to be a problem because we wanna at this point like kill the operation, because at this point, like, it's just dead. So something is wrong here. And instead of like, because if you don't have it here and you don't have it here, there's a huge problem. And remember, it's not actually a huge problem because we don't make it a huge problem, but it is. So here's the thing, sometimes the chunks are not completely equal to each other, but some chunks are, right? And that's why we're returning false, because we want to skip that situation and move on to the next one. Okay, so here's the thing, usually I'm checking the entire type if the type exists on the download, and now I'm checking if the type so I'm just not gonna like give anything here, and what I'm gonna do is, if I'm going to go ahead and compare both arrays. So I'm gonna compare the installed to the download to the main at this point to see the issue. So right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this debugging system that I made, and we're gonna go ahead and list them all. So we're gonna do something like this. Okay. Okay, so here, right about here actually is the one we want 2 times, and we're going to also get download, and because this is only getting download, and I understand that I wasn't really working with installed either at that time. Installed, and also the same type. And only at that time we need it, like we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with the amount of data here that is going to show up on the screen. We can't even read it. And then here we're gonna append. Okay. All right. And we could always collapse this to micro. Now it's pretty, huh? Okay. Get local type. Okay. Okay. All right. So in case something goes wrong and the data doesn't match, we're just gonna read it just to see match installed with download not yet. Yeah, match types. Okay. All right, that seems right. Okay. Mount types, this would just mount all of them, and usually that runs on the begin plate. So I'm pretty sure at this point we're clear. like we're actually clear for testing this thing here. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this here. Even though like it's gonna be kind of not cool, but I'm pretty sure that we should be safe because this is running 4. Can we actually feed it 4 by default? Okay. That way it's gonna override the same thing. It's not gonna crowd the screen. Okay, so that would be it for this section, and we're clear. Debugging this system is gonna be a nightmare, but with this debugging thing that I did, it should be a piece of cake because like all the information will be displayed as we go. Like, so it's gonna be like, it's gonna be pretty quick though, because like, for example, like this area right here, if anything happens in that area, there's gonna be a problem. Usually, like if we don't pass, like if we ever get a false on here, and then if we got a false on here, and then we also get a false on here, I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but I'm pretty sure if that's the case, then there's a problem with the adding. Like the adding didn't work. The adding here and the adding here. Those two adding has to work. Because this is pretty straightforward, it's just an array. So it should work.